It is now June, which makes sense why it's getting hotter, and then, the normal things will start to happen. I'll start to entertain a chilled drink a little more. I might open some windows. I might stay out, in the hot hours of the day. I might try to do stuff in the morning and at night. Nothing better than a summer night, right? And those are all things that you could maybe predict would happen when it starts to get a little hot, right? You start to change some activities. But never would I have predicted that when it starts to get hot, that would also mean I maybe accidentally killed a bird. I didn't. Okay, stop. Don't look at me like that. Don't start forming opinions. You're vilifying me already. I can sense it, right? You're giving off a vibe. I didn't kill a bird. At least I don't think I did. If I did, I didn't. It wasn't by my hands, okay? I was just existing. I didn't do it. Okay, let me explain myself. You see, on Saturday morning, I woke up about 9 a.m., right? And I was like, well, I want another hour of sleep. This is the point of weekends, right? We get to catch up on the sleep at the weekends. That's not how it works, right? You can't like bank hours of sleep, but that's still a lie I tell myself. So I went back to sleep, right? I was like, let me set an alarm for an hour later than right now, which is 10 a.m. And I did. I snoozed, set that alarm for 10 a.m., and right at 10, I woke up. And I grabbed my phone. I started going through social media, which is the one thing you're not supposed to do. But naturally, that means I do it. And then within 60 seconds, in the next minute, I hear a loud bang on my bedroom window. And of course, right? I live in the suburbs, so my first thought is gunshot, right? Because everyone in the suburbs always has the first thought when they hear a loud bang. They're like, I'm being shot at. It's like, not you. You're the last person, okay? You live there. That means that's like the last thing that happened. You know what blows me away? Whenever we're around 4th of July, and then like a couple days before 4th of July, you hear very loud bangs. And then, I got one of those those doorbells, a Ring doorbell. And so you can go on there and like there's a community tab with people posting about it. It's essentially like the grown-up version of Yik Yak. I didn't get to experience Yik Yak when I was in college. I experienced something called Wildfire, which is now a dead app. But it's essentially like regional Twitter. And that's what Ring doorbells have, or any like, those smart doorbells. They have this feature on the app where you can go and see people that live around you talk and give alerts about like, ooh, unruly teenagers that are loitering in my grocery store parking lot. And then I let other people know, watch out, it's Safeway, Bel Air. We got some skateboarders. And it's like, yeah, what do you want me to do though? I don't know, but aren't you glad I let you know? And I'm like, no, not really. I'm not going to really change anything about my day. They're like, well, they're a feisty bunch. I'm like, hey, have you had run-ins with them? Like, what's the beef there, huh? Seems one-sided. Except one time I did. I don't know if this is true. It can't be true, but it might be. I saw this thing on the Ring community tab that said, everyone be careful. There's a group of 20 plus teenagers riding around in bikes, stopping traffic, and then damaging people's cars. I was like, what the fuck? And yeah, apparently there were multiple accounts of a group of 20 plus teenagers on bikes going around at night and just stopping in front of your car so that you would stop and then going up to your car and banging the shit out of it. And I thought this was like one elaborate bit, right? Someone having a little bit of fun on the Ring doorbell app. But then someone like, what is it? When you like corroborate, yeah, someone corroborated the story because they were like, I'm at the grocery store, I see all 20 of them plotting back there and they're all scheming up where to hit next. And I was like, that's ridiculous. And then I clicked on the post and they included a picture, and yeah, lo and behold, there was a picture of 20 plus teenagers just behind a grocery store. Again, this could all be fabricated. They maybe made a whole story because they got that one picture. They were playing the long game, right? This is the ultimate bit. They took that picture and they're like, what's a crazy story I could come up with? And I would be inclined not to believe it, right? Except there were multiple accounts. There were multiple people being like, no, that's exactly what's happening. Which means if this is true, then it's true. But it also could be like a Nathan Fielder level bit. And if that's the case, I applaud them. But yeah, around 4th of July every year, maybe a few days before the 4th of July, someone's like, did anyone hear a loud bang? I'm like, what do you think? Yeah, you heard one, but what do you think it is? What's happening in a few days, right? What is the 3-day weekend you're looking forward to, huh? You only get a few of those every year. So you probably had this on your calendar for ages, right? That barbecue you're going to go to. And you're going to bring some nasty-ass coleslaw that's expired. but you assure everyone that no, I think it's fine. I've eaten worse. I'm like, yeah, you're sick all the time. How often do you eat coleslaw? They're like, well, I try to get it in my system every month. I'm like, what the? So you don't have a weak immune system. You have a weak brain. Because what kind of dumbass eats expired coleslaw? Anyways, who even eats coleslaw? Am I right, Garv? That stuff's nasty. Calm down, okay? I do actually like coleslaw. Don't let this get out, please, that I'm a coleslaw enjoyer, because I do fear that that would hurt my image. But just between you and I do enjoy an occasional coleslaw. But that's the thing. People hear loud bangs in the suburbs, and then they're like, oh, get down! Kids! Husband! Get in the fucking bathtub! I'm like, it's not an earthquake. You can't dodge bullets just by laying down in a bathtub. Actually, that would be pretty effective, wouldn't it be? Maybe they're onto something. But I heard a loud bang. It smashed against my window. And I was like, oh my God, is that a gunshot? I was like, no, don't be ridiculous. I was like, so what's the next thing? I was like, firework? But I'm like, no, there's nothing to celebrate, right? We're not close enough to 4th of July for that to be a firework. So I was like, what the fuck was that? And so I opened my window, to the side of the window in case it's an active shooter, right? They want to take another shot. Maybe the first one was just bait, right? Where you like throw it out and then someone peeks around the corner. They're like, oh, what was that? And then you take the shot. So I opened it from the side, right? I saw nothing. But I saw my window had this big white mark on it. I'm like, what the fuck is that? Have I ever noticed that? So I went and got the cleaning supplies. I cleaned the window because I noticed the mark was on the inside. I was like, huh. So the mark didn't indicate the hit. So what was it? And then I looked at my window from many different angles. And then I saw it. I saw 2 little feet. I don't know if you can see it in this photo, but I tried to put it up against a dark background, right? There's a brown wall right next to that window. So I put it up against that, and you can see those are like 2 perfect bird feet. That slam sounded exactly like if you were to throw a soccer ball as hard as you could at a window. That's exactly what it sounded like. And so when I saw that, I'm like, oh my God, did a bird run into my window? And I was like, no, that can't be true. But I'm like, then what are those marks? Those are very clearly bird feet, right? So I Googled it. I was like, I basically just typed in my situation. Has anyone ever gotten white marks on their windows after hearing a loud bang? Could be a bird, possibly. And then there were Reddit posts where people talked about this. Someone was like, yeah, I often have birds running into my place in summer months. I was like, summer months? Why is that? And apparently the explanation people would give is that during the summer, right, when it's sunny out, sometimes windows have glare on them. So the birds can't see it and they'll run straight into it. Or they'll think it's like a false entrance and then just run straight into it like it's an entrance. Some like Wile E. Coyote shit. And they'll just slam against windows. And someone even included a picture. I'll put it right here. This is a real picture someone's taken of their place. And that's like an owl, right? And apparently the dust, right? Where does this dust come from? Why is there this white mark? It's because a lot of birds have dust or something on them because that's what keeps them from getting too wet. It's what keeps them dry. They have this like built-in dust. It's a built-in feature. So if they slam against something, some of that dust will shake off. And that's where I think these 2 prints came from. And I read this thread a little more on Reddit about people having run-ins with birds, and people are like, yeah, oftentimes they die because they hit it at such a high velocity. Now I went outside and I checked the ground. I didn't see any wounded bird, but maybe it was one of those situations where you get downed and then you crawl away and then you pass. So I don't know. There's a non-zero chance that my bedroom window killed a bird. It's not my fault. See, do you see now? Can you please absolve me from any crime? Sure, did I put the window there? Yeah. But okay, come on. That's not the same thing as someone putting like a bear trap in the forest and then capturing a bear. This isn't a trap, okay? It's a window. That's very different, okay? You can't get on me about that one. And I think the bird's fine, right? It's a small print, small feet, which means, right, smaller things, smaller surface area. Even if they hit something really fast, it's not going to do too much damage. I studied physics. I know that. What is it? Force? Force equals mass times acceleration. Sure, their acceleration was high, but their mass was small. So the force at which they hit it probably wasn't enough to take their life. Oh. And honestly, it's a good thing. Yeah, no, you know what? I'm gonna take credit for this. I think I did a good thing by having that window because now this bird is going to go back to its flock and it's going to be like, hey guys, by the ways, don't don't do what I did. They're like, what happened? Did you have a run in with something? They're like, well, funny you use that language actually. Quite literally, yes, I did have a a run in with something, except it was more like a running into of something. Windows. Do you guys know what those are? Someone's like, oh, I've heard of those. Yeah, stay away from those, by the ways. And that's the thing, it's getting hotter. So there was probably sun that was shining at my window that tricked a bird. And now this bird, right, probably out of, what is it, commission or whatever? It's like on the bench because it, yeah, had a bit of a run in. So. But as it does get hotter, something that happens is insects or bugs, right? They need somewhere to go. It's too hot out there, right? They don't want to take up all that heat, so they try to get indoors or in shade at least. And already I've noticed some flies when I come inside, right? I'm going through my front door. Some flies are like, oh, hold that. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. Okay. I do that for humans. Sometimes I do it in a little bit of a rude fashion because I hold it open when they're very far away. So they're like, oh, now I gotta do the nice thing, which is a little bit of a jog. You're an asshole for making me do that. But with flies, I'm very like, even if their tail, what is it called? They're like on my coattails. If they're like, is it called tailgating or like ass riding? You know when someone's like up against you, like up on your back bumper, and then they like sneak in with you. It's like if two people, you ever go on a subway? It's like those little things, right? You scan your card and it goes, that like amusement parks have, the little thing. It's like if someone was to go in, like, you know, if they press their pelvis right up against your backside and went in with you, so they would save $2 or whatever the fee is. It's that. It's that is what flies are trying to do to me because they're like, oh, hold the door, please. I'm like, no, this is for humans only. They're like, oh, okay. Not for us, huh? Let me guess, you call us you people. I'm like, all right, I never said that. Okay, now you're putting words in my mouth. They're like, well, you can make it up to me by letting me inside. I'm like, oh, well, hey, first of all, I didn't say that. Can't be guilty of a crime I didn't commit, right? Which is not true. Tell that to all the people that are locked up because they didn't do shit. They just got fucked one day. But something that also happens is, right, bees will do the same thing. And I had an instance like that this week. I was going in through my front door and a bee was like, oh, hold on. I was like, oh, no, absolutely not. Because a fly you can deal with. A fly is a no big deal, right? You can get a fly indoors and then you can, without hesitation, immediately try to kill it. I don't know if you guys are pro fly, but I'm just going to assume you're on the same side of history as I. And if you get a fly indoors, you want to take care of business quickly. And with a fly, you can take as many swings as you want, right? It's a little game even. Like I'm sure there's a Mario minigame that has a fly swatter as your thing. And then you connect your Joy-Con. And then it's like sensitivity is not calibrated. So your fly swatter is like up here. And then you don't get any points. And someone's like, wow, you suck at that. You're like, no, hey, I'm good at things, okay? Don't use this to write me off forever. They're like, no, I think that's about your value. You suck at a Mario minigame, you don't deserve to vote. I'm like, what? How do we get there? Anyways, but it's like a little game, right? You try to swipe the fly until you get it. But I realize there's an added danger if you let a bee into your place. Because a bee, right? You guys can be chill. Like you can walk by bees and bushes and you guys are good. When you get in trouble, it's when you take a swipe at them, right? When you guys have kind of an altercation. So a bee, right, if it gets into your residence, you guys can act copacetic, right? You can be all friendly and be like, hey, you're over there, I'm over here, just watching the game. Yeah, anything in the kitchen you can have. I got some new snacks, they're in the pantry. All you, man, all you, okay? Hey, some honeycombs in there. Knock yourself out, okay? But then when, you know, they're chowing down on whatever cereal they choose from your pantry, you would sneak up behind them and you only have one shot and you have to aim to kill. Because if you miss, you guys go from being roommates to adversaries in an instant. Because a bee, you guys are cool, right? The B's like, hey, I'm gonna be in the kitchen. If I'm chewing too loud, let me know. I'm like, it's cool. I'll just turn the volume up. You be you, man. Don't let me harsh or mellow. I don't want you to have to compromise your true self just because you're around me. And he's like, hey, that's so cool of you, man. I'm trying to be a little more accepting in my life too. So I'm gonna take a note from you. Big ups, man. Hey, is it cool if I journal about you later? No big deal, man. Hey, be yourself. Stop it. Hey, we have fun, don't we? You guys go from that to if you swing with a newspaper and you miss, he's like, all right, what the fuck was that? You're like, I don't know what you're talking about. You can try, right, to play it cool and be like, oh, sorry. No, I was just, sometimes I swing a newspaper. I'm have a softball game with some of my work friends later, just working on my swing. You can use that excuse once on a B, but then if you try it again, he'll be like, all right, man, fuck you. First of all, you're trying to kill me. You lied, didn't you? You were trying to end my life. I'm like, all right, you got me. You're not supposed to be in here, man. He's like, oh, were we ever cool? No. It's all coming clear to me now. What the fuck did you think of me when we first met? Honestly, I didn't want to get too close to you. Oh, get too close to me, huh? Yeah, I try to stay away from you guys. You guys! Oh, the flies were right. You are racist. I'm like, no, hey, whoa, that's not... I feel like we're drawing parallels that shouldn't be drawn, okay? But yes, I was trying to kill you because of who you are. Oh, okay. That's fine. Now, I'm gonna kill you, man. I'm like, well, actually, if you, right, you think you're gonna kill me by stinging me, that's just gonna kill you. I don't know if you know that, because no one in your family survives to tell the tale, but if you sting me, you die. So just like be careful about that. I know we're kind of in hot water right now with each other, but I still want to be your friend. Don't sting me. It's going to be worse for you than me. But that's the thing, I thought about that. If a bee gets into your place, you have to kill it in one shot. A fly, you can take as many swipes as you want, right? Because it's like, oh, I'm over here, but it's not going to do anything to you. A bee, you take one swipe and you miss, it's like, all right, you're an op. I'm going to murder you, man. And we're within these four walls, and I know you live here, so even if you leave, you got to come back, and I'll be waiting, motherfucker. Okay? So yeah, it's getting hotter, which means you got to watch out for those bees, those pesky bees, huh? But also what happens in June is the NBA playoffs. And I've been watching the NBA playoffs. I'm really into it. It's been a great postseason. A lot of close games. And if you don't care about sports, just stick with me. I'm going to relate this to dating really quick. So I think I can still capture your interest with this. You see, I realized watching the playoffs that there are some teams, there's a common pattern that often happens every year, which is that some teams will do great in the regular season, but then they come to the playoffs and they shit the bed. I forgot what it's called, but there's a name for players that do that. I think it's called like a playoff dropper or something. But some teams will be great in the regular season, come to the playoffs, and then you're like, what the fuck? Did the monsters take your powers? Like, what the fuck happened? You were great for 82 games. What happened to this? Were the lights too bright? And this year, I believe it was like the Cavs, the Cavaliers. They did great, right? They did fine, but they had like a record regular season. They came to the playoffs and they, kind of shit the bed. But the Pacers are doing very well, so you can't really blame them. Anyways, I realize that there's a direct parallel between this and dating. You see, something that I've experienced is that in the past years, right, I like to play NBA 2K. And sometimes a friend will come over and we'll play NBA 2K. And oftentimes I'm more experienced at the game than they are. So we start the game, and what always happens is at the beginning of the game, it's always close. And they usually get a little cocky, being like, wow, you play this how often? I just picked up the controller and it's already a close game? You must be pretty bad, aren't you? I'm like, no, I'm good. But my strengths aren't in the short term, they're the long term. You see, if you are having a close game at the start, it means your mechanics are about the same. But in the long term, I start to pull away, right? In the third quarter, fourth quarter, I start to get like a 20-point lead. It's because I figure out their strategy. I see what worked for them, and I see what didn't work for me. And then after halftime, I adjust and I kick their ass. And then they're like, what the fuck was that? And I'm like, well, I let you win in the first half. Oftentimes I didn't. No, I'm not actually that great, so it is actually a close game. But I do try a little bit. At the beginning, you got to give them a few baskets so that they don't just quit. That's the dumbest thing you can do. Show your friends like your favorite game and then kick their ass. They're never going to want to play. You have to like ease them into it, right? You can't just have them play the game you love and then just, yeah, wipe them across the floor because they'll be like, that's not fun. You got to give them some wins. And I realized, oh, yeah, that's kind of what you got to do, right? You need to have a good strategy. Strategy is where real winning comes in. Mechanics can only get you so far. And I think that that's why some teams are great in the regular season and they suck ass in the playoffs. Because the regular season is full of one-off games, right? You play a team and then the next night you play a completely different team. So mechanics will go much farther. If you don't really pay attention to the scouting report and you don't study the other team's film, not much strategy you can do. It really just comes down to mechanics. But when you get to the postseason, right, the playoffs, you are in a 7-game series potentially, which means, right, you can play a few games and lose, but then come back and win. Because eventually you figure out their strategy and then you know how to beat them. And then the tables turn. It's weird. You see a complete tone shift in just one series, right? A team takes game one, blows out the other team. And the other team comes back, wins like 3 in a row because they figured it out. In the words of Lethal Shooter, I understand it now. And I was like, oh, this is exactly the same thing as dates, right? Some people are really good at first dates, first impressions. And then, right, they get into a relationship and then they suck ass because they're good at winning the battle, not the war. Some people, right, they're good in small doses. They're good at winning the battle. Mechanically, they're sound. They're adept, right? But then when it comes to long term, having strategy, actually caring, right? Winning a 7-game series, being in a stable, loving, committed relationship, some people fall short. The Cleveland Cavaliers would not be good in a relationship because, yes, while they have good mechanics, they'd be a fun, spontaneous first date or two. But if you want to settle down with them, you'd be vastly disappointed. And I realized, oh my God, yes, sports is so beautiful because you can draw these parallels to real life. And I don't know if that's too, metagamey. Maybe that's not actually a true parallel to draw, but I see no holes in that analysis or an analogy or simile, whatever, metaphor, right? I think the same way basketball mechanics can only get you so far, I think dating mechanics and like human emotion mechanics can only get you so far. You need absolute strategy to make these things last. And I think that's where we often fall short, right? All these things you hear on social media. Oh, here he goes. All these things you see on social media are like, oh, what are your red flags? I think everyone's talking about mechanics. Mechanically, oh, they don't hold the door open for me. Oh, they don't do this, they don't do that. But rarely do we focus on strategy. And I think that's where we need to look at. So who said that basketball was nothing? It's everything to me. That's the one thing, that guy that likes sports, he always ties everything back to basketball. Like I make a lot of basketball analogies here, and even at work, I feel like I do it. Anytime I talk about engineering, I feel like I always make some reference to basketball because it's like, I feel like I'm fluent in that. And that's why you have to like learn how to speak someone's language. It's the same way, right? You see those videos on the internet when someone speaks in someone's native tongue and instantly they light up because they're like, oh my God, you understand me. I feel like that's what happens with me and like basketball. Other sports, sure, but like basketball, if you start speaking to me like about basketball, I'll be like, oh my, wow, you're speaking my language. So yeah, I guess that's why I drew that parallel. I'm sure there's other things in life where you can draw the same exact parallel about how mechanically you can be strong, but strategically, if you don't have a solid game, you'll fall short in the long term. But I feel, with like all the reels and TikToks and shit like that, vertical content, we're more inclined to think about like the short-term strategy of things or short-term mechanics of something rather than like the long-term strategy. And that's still why I feel like I like YouTube videos because it's kind of like a long-term thing. You have to care for longer. And I don't know why I like to care for longer. I don't really care about things you're not supposed to care about. Like short form content, I'm like, yeah, whatever. It's just throwaway shit. It doesn't matter. Anywho, last episode, speaking of being in the long term, if If you want to know, right, I've never been in a relationship, but if you want any confidence that I would be good in a relationship, just look at my YouTube channel. I've been doing this shit for what, 7, 8 years now? It's not very successful. It's successful, right? Like it's not successful. But to the level of a success that I've achieved, it's not enough of a reason to justify doing this for 7 to 8 years. But that's the thing. I have belief in my strategy. I just need to keep showing up. So that's why I'm committed to something that's not even that successful. So it shows I don't have any problem with commitment. Thing is, I just have to believe in it pretty hard. And I do believe in this very hard. So yeah, I'll show up week after week. And with this podcast, last episode, I talked about how it was the 52nd episode in a row, in a Monday in a row. I did a whole year of podcast episodes, and that was the least liked and least commented on episode in the past year. Now, again, it's getting hotter. So you're maybe sipping on a chill drink. Owls might be running into your windows, and also maybe you don't have enough time to spend listening to a stranger on the internet because now it's sunny outside. You get to go out and do real life things with your friends. So maybe that explains the low numbers. But I would like to do another reminder here that you gotta like these episodes, okay? Because while I am able to commit to something long term, I still need a reason to keep going. And last episode, there wasn't much of a reason to show up this week. That shit, yeah, it got the lowest amount of likes I've gotten in the last 52 weeks. And it was tied, I'll admit, it was tied for the least amount of comments on an episode in the past 52 weeks. The last time I got that few comments was 7 months ago. It was like back in October. It was the Africa episode. So make sure you like and comment on this video. We're not done yet, but I just wanted to say it before the end of the video so you remember to do it. Remember, just treat it like for future episodes, just right when you show up, just leave a like. Like you're dropping keys off when you get into your house and you made sure no bees or flies followed you. Okay? So just do that and I think things will be great, right? Because if I find out you didn't do that, I'm going to be like that bee inside your place when you took a swipe at me. Stingers up. Fuck Sac State though. I don't actually care. If you went to Sac State, good. It's just I went to Davis and apparently we're rivals. So, yeah, fuck Sac State, I guess. I don't care. I've never understood like college rivalries. I guess if you just extrapolate, right? Major league rivalries, I guess I can conceptualize it. Like, oh, the same way NBA has rivalries. Oh, that's how college teams have rivalries. But like, there's no history with college teams, right? You get this batch of kids, and then half of them are gone the next year. So it's like, what the fuck are you rooting for? The mascot? Okay. I feel like with major league sports, there's like history and there's lore behind it. With college sports, it's like, oh, there's the jersey. Who gives a fuck? Like, I'm sorry. As a sports guy, I shouldn't be saying these things, should I? I should stick to what I know, which is donuts. I love donuts, right? And I just want to, again, maybe the reason last episode didn't get very many likes is because these episodes aren't entirely useful. So to make sure I can dispute that claim, I want to make this episode useful and remind you, as someone that loves donuts, that this Friday, June 6th, 6/6, is National Donut Day, I believe. So do a little research, find out which donut places are doing promotions, and then, yeah, go get yourself some dough. I know Krispy Kreme, I got an ad. That's the only reason I know. National Donut Day is this Friday. But they're doing a thing. I think if you go in there, you get like a dozen donuts. You get a dozen glazed for, I was saying $2, but then I also saw someone say 13 cents, which where the fuck did that number come from? But anyways, they're doing like promotions at Krispy Kreme for starting this Friday for like 2 weeks. Not sponsored, by the way. So what the fuck am I doing? I'm doing this for the love of the game. I just want to spread my sweet glaze out in the world. Nope, see, phrasing. I shouldn't have used those words, shouldn't I? But yeah, I just want to make sure you're getting your keep, right? You're experiencing life in an optimal way. And I think the best way to do that is to get some donuts this Friday. So hopefully you're listening to this episode this week before that Friday happens and you can capitalize on that opportunity. So I guess there's not much else for me to say. Now that I've provided some value in this episode, I can pretty much be done, can't I? But this is the latest I've ever recorded a podcast episode. I don't know why. I think after I did 52 episodes in a row, I'm now more nervous than I've ever been to make an episode, which is weird, right? You ever see people on social media and you're like, oh man, they're probably very comfortable because they've been posting, right? Like I said, 7 to 8 years at this point. No. Every time I record something is equally as terrifying as the last time. I still think I'm going to fuck something up. And I probably will. But that shouldn't stop you from doing the thing, because mistakes are a part of life. No, look, he's getting all poetic again. Yeah, no, mistakes are inevitable. So you should never let that keep you from at least the attempt. Because how are you going to ever have success if you never attempt? In the great words of Michael Scott, in the great words of Wayne Gretzky, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Thank you very much. Do that. What was the thing I said about making mistakes? Well, look at that. I did it. Something apparently John Mulaney would do when he was on SNL. Or no, it was Bill Hader. My bad. When Bill Hader would be in SNL sketches, the first word of every sketch that he had, he would intentionally mess up so that already he would be like, all right, I messed up. Now it's no big deal. I don't have to worry about being flawless. I made a mistake. I can continue stress-free. So that's a mindset I think it's important to have, is that you're going to make mistakes. So don't go into it thinking you'll never make them, because then you won't do anything. And something you better do is leave a like on this video, leave a comment, and I'll thank you again. Week 53 in a row. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And I'll text you next week. Okay?